Hello there and welcome to Scientific Serenity. Everything you hear here is carefully researched and prepared for you. Now, take a deep breath. Let the darkness become gentle. Before we begin, you may notice your body starting to relax. A gentle yawn may arrive. Your breathing may slow. As this story unfolds, your mind will drift naturally towards sleep. By the middle of this journey, rest will come quietly, and when you wake, you may feel calmer, because tonight, you fell asleep through science and learned something most people never will. If you see me as someone from your own family who researches and prepares this knowledge for you, subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment would truly mean a lot to me. And let the story begin. There is a planet in the outer solar system that forgot how to stand up straight. You have traveled billions of kilometers to reach it, leaving behind the warmth of the inner system, the rocky worlds, the asteroid belt, the familiar order of planets spinning upright on their axes like well-behaved tops. Jupiter and Saturn still spin with their equators roughly aligned with their orbits, as if they know which way is up. Even Mars, for all its strangeness, maintains a respectable tilt of 25 degrees, not so different from Earth's 23.5. Neptune, at the outer edge, spins at a tilt of 28 degrees, still within the range of normal. But Uranus is different. Uranus is wrong. It lies on its side, its axis tilted by 98 degrees relative to its orbit. It rolls around the sun like a cosmic marble that has been knocked askew, its poles pointing almost directly at the star during parts of its long year. For 42 years at a time, one pole faces the sun while the other faces the emptiness of space. Then, after half an orbit, they switch. It is a world of extremes, a planet that has no seasons in any familiar sense, only eternal day and eternal night, switching places every human lifetime. You are approaching this world now. Your spacecraft has been falling toward it for years, crossing the vast emptiness between Saturn and this distant realm. The journey has been long, so long that you have almost forgotten what it feels like to stand on solid ground, to breathe air that hasn't been recycled, to see a sky that isn't filled with stars. But now, finally, the destination is in sight. Ahead of you, Uranus grows from a point of light to a disk, from a disk to a world. It is pale, almost featureless compared to Jupiter and Saturn. A smooth, greenish-blue sphere that seems to float in the blackness like a glass marble. No bands of clouds, no great storms, no dramatic features. Just stillness. Just quiet. Just the pale color of a world wrapped in methane haze. The color is the first clue that something is different. The greenish blue comes from methane in the upper atmosphere, absorbing red light and reflecting blue and green. But it is not the deep blue of Neptune, not the vibrant turquoise of processed images that have been enhanced to show detail. It is a pale, washed-out color, like ice that has been diluted with milk, like the color of a frozen lake on an overcast day. It is the color of cold, the color of distance, the color of a world that has been waiting alone for billions of years. As you draw closer, you begin to see the faint bands, traces of clouds, hints of weather, subtle variations in the otherwise uniform disk. They are stretched around the planet in strange ways, aligned not with the equator but with the poles, because on Uranus the poles are where the sun shines. The weather systems follow the sun, circling the points that receive the most energy, creating patterns that would look upside down to anyone used to the other planets. It is as if the entire atmosphere has been reoriented, forced to adapt to a world that has forgotten which way is up. But it is the tilt that dominates everything. As your spacecraft maneuvers into orbit, you see it clearly. The rings that circle Uranus are vertical, like a target standing on edge. From Earth, through telescopes, these rings appear as thin lines on either side of the planet. But here, up close, you can see their true orientation. They circle the equator, which is tilted nearly perpendicular to the plane of the solar system. The rings are not horizontal like Saturn's. They are vertical, standing upright against the blackness of space. And the moons that orbit Uranus follow paths that are equally tilted. Oberon and Titania, Umbriel and Ariel, Miranda with its strange chaotic terrain. All of them circle the planet in orbits that are tilted by the same 98 degrees. They loop above and below the plane of the solar system, tracing paths that would seem impossible to anyone used to the orderly, flat orbits of most moons. Everything about this world is oriented differently, as if someone reached into the cosmos and tipped it over. The story of how Uranus became like this is a story of violence, of chaos, of the random cruelty of the early solar system. 4.5 billion years ago, when the planets were still forming, Uranus was probably much like the other gas giants, spinning upright, collecting material, minding its own business. It formed from the same cloud of gas and dust as the others, accumulated the same hydrogen and helium, grew to roughly the same size. Then something hit it. Something big. Something that changed everything. The leading theory is that a protoplanet roughly the size of Earth slammed into Uranus during the chaotic final stages of planetary formation. The impact was not a glancing blow but a direct hit, one that knocked the young planet onto its side and never let it get up again. The energy released would have been incomprehensible, enough to vaporize entire worlds, to reshape the fabric of the planet itself. Debris from the collision may have formed the rings, may have tilted the orbits of the moons, may have scattered material across the outer system. But the most lasting effect was the tilt itself, a permanent reminder of a moment of cosmic violence that occurred when the solar system was young. You can imagine that impact if you try. A world of rock and ice, hurtling through space, drawn by gravity toward the growing gas giant. The collision, not a gentle merger but a catastrophic encounter, releasing more energy than all the nuclear weapons on Earth combined, more energy than the sun emits in a second. The planet shuddering, its axis shifting, its rotation changing forever. The atmosphere boiling, the interior churning, the very structure of the world transforming in an instant. And then silence as the debris settled and the system moved on. Uranus has never recovered. It has never righted itself. It has rolled around the sun for 4.5 billion years, its poles pointing first one way, then the other, locked into a cycle that will continue until the sun itself dies. The impact that tipped it over happened so long ago that no other trace remains. The debris has long since cleared, the energy has long since dissipated, the scars have long since healed. But the tilt remains, a fossil of ancient violence, a reminder that the universe is not always gentle. You are in orbit now, looking down at the pale disk. The North Pole, the one currently facing the Sun, is a point of light at the top of the planet, surrounded by a region of permanent day. The atmosphere there is warmer, more active, stirred by the constant input of solar energy. Clouds form and dissipate, winds blow, weather systems circle the pole in patterns that have no equivalent on any other world. The South Pole is invisible, hidden on the dark side, wrapped in a night that has lasted for decades. No sunlight has reached that hemisphere since before you were born. No sunlight will reach it until long after you are gone. Between them, the planet curves away its surface, if you can call it that, a featureless expanse of cloud and haze. The equator, which on any normal planet would be the warmest region, is here a place of perpetual twilight. The sun never rises high in the sky at the equator on Uranus. It schemes the horizon, day after day, year after year, never climbing more than a few degrees above the edge of the world. The equator is a place of long shadows and dim light, of eternal dawn or eternal dusk, depending on how you look at it. Your mission is to descend, to leave the safety of orbit and fall into this tilted world, to experience its strangeness firsthand, to understand what it means to be a planet that has forgotten which way is up. The descent vehicle detaches from the mother ship. You feel a lurch, a moment of weightlessness, and then the thin tug of Uranus's gravity begins to pull you down. The gravity here is less than Earth's, about 89%, but it is enough to give you a sense of falling, of moving towards something. The vehicle is designed for this, built to withstand pressures and temperatures that would destroy any ordinary craft. It is your home now, your shelter, your only protection from the alien environment outside. The descent is slow at first. You are still high above the cloud tops, still in the tenuous upper atmosphere where the pressure is almost nothing. The methane haze that gives Uranus its color surrounds you, a thin mist that glows faintly in the light from the distant sun. The sun itself is a tiny disk, 1,000 times fainter than it appears from Earth, but still bright enough to cast shadows. It hangs at the North Pole, fixed in the sky, never moving because you are descending near the equator, where the sun is always on the horizon. That is another strange thing about Uranus. At the equator, the sun is always low. Because the planet is tipped on its side, the equator receives sunlight at a grazing angle, never directly overhead. The days here are not like days on Earth. They are long slants of light, shadows that stretch forever, a perpetual twilight that never deepens into night and never brightens into noon. The sun traces a shallow arc along the horizon each day, never rising more than a few degrees, never setting completely. It is always there, always low, always casting long shadows across the cloud tops. You fall deeper. The pressure increases. The temperature drops. The methane haze thickens around you. its greenish tinge becoming more pronounced. You are entering the realm of clouds, of weather, of the dynamic atmosphere that lies beneath the placid surface. The clouds here are not like the clouds of Earth. They are made of methane, of hydrogen sulfide, of ammonia. They form layers, bands, streaks that circle the planet in patterns dictated by the tilt. At 50 kilometers below the cloud tops, the pressure is 10 times Earth's. The temperature is minus 200 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze nitrogen, cold enough to turn methane to ice. But the methane here is still gas, held in that state by the pressure, waiting to condense into clouds. The hydrogen and helium that make up most of the atmosphere are similarly compressed, their molecules packed more tightly than they would ever be on Earth. At 100 kilometers, the pressure is 100 times Earth's. The temperature has warmed slightly, minus 180 degrees, because of the compression. You are entering the region where the real atmosphere begins, where the gases are thick enough to support weather, where the strange dynamics of this tilted world play out. The clouds here are thicker, more substantial. They swirl in patterns that seem almost alive, driven by the heat rising from below and the strange circulation patterns created by the tilt. At 500 kilometers, the pressure is 1,000 times Earth's. The temperature is minus 100 degrees, still incredibly cold by Earth standards, but warm compared to the upper atmosphere. The methane is beginning to change, its molecules compressed and heated, approaching the point where they will break apart and reform into something new. The hydrogen and helium are similarly transformed, their behaviors shifting from gas-like to fluid-like as the pressure increases. At 1,000 kilometers, you reach the bottom of the atmosphere, or what passes for the bottom. Below you, the gases become so compressed that they are no longer gas. They are supercritical fluids like on Jupiter, but colder, stranger, more alien. The transition is gradual, as it always is on giant planets, but you know when you have crossed it because the falling stops. You are no longer falling. You are floating, suspended in a medium that is dense enough to support you, that buoys you like water. You have reached the fluid interior of Uranus, the region where the atmosphere becomes ocean, where gas becomes liquid, where the planet reveals its true nature. Around you, the fluid is dark, darker than anything you have ever seen. No light penetrates here, not from the distant sun, not from any source. You are in the emerald darkness, the green-black depths of a world that has never known light. The fluid is mostly hydrogen and helium, but it is mixed with methane and water and ammonia, all compressed to densities that would seem impossible on Earth. And in this darkness, strange things are happening. Methane is breaking down, carbon is forming chains, and somewhere below you, diamonds are raining through the liquid. The pressure is so immense that the very structure of matter is changing, atoms being crushed together, molecules being torn apart and reformed. You are floating in a place where chemistry itself is different, where the familiar rules of Earth no longer apply. You have descended into Uranus. You have entered the realm of the sideways planet. And ahead of you in the darkness, the real journey is about to begin. The tilt that defines this world is not just a curiosity. It shapes everything about Uranus, its weather, its seasons, its internal structure, its very identity. Because of that ancient impact, this planet is different from all the others. It experiences extremes that no other world knows. It has regions of eternal light and eternal darkness. It has an atmosphere that flows in patterns found nowhere else. It has an interior where diamonds fall like rain. And you are here to experience it all. The emerald darkness surrounds you, patient and deep. The fluid interior holds you, supports you, carries you slowly toward greater depths. And above you, far above you now, the sun continues its eternal patrol around the North Pole, waiting for the moment when the seasons will shift and the long night will begin. But that is for later. For now, there is only the darkness, the pressure, the slow drift through the interior of a tilted world. There is a place in the solar system where the sun forgets to rise. You have been drifting in the emerald darkness of Uranus's fluid interior, suspended in a medium that is neither gas nor liquid but something between. The pressure around you is immense, thousands of times Earth's atmospheric pressure, and the temperature is cold beyond comprehension. But you are protected, insulated, carried by your vessel through depths that would destroy any unprotected thing. The vessel hums quietly around you, its systems maintaining the fragile bubble of warmth and air that keeps you alive in this alien realm. Now you are rising, not toward the surface. There is no surface on Uranus, no solid ground, no place where the atmosphere ends and the world begins. Instead, you are moving toward the South Pole, toward the region that has not seen sunlight in more than 4 decades. Your instruments guide you, mapping the density and composition of the fluid around you, plotting a course through the darkness toward the place where light has been absent for a human lifetime. The journey is long. Uranus is vast, its interior stretching for thousands of kilometers in every direction. You move through layers of fluid, through regions of increasing and decreasing density, through zones where the composition shifts from hydrogen to helium to methane to water. The fluid around you changes in character as you travel. Thicker here, thinner there, warmer in some places, colder in others. But color is almost meaningless in this darkness. There is no light to see by, only the dim glow of your vessel's instruments, the faint illumination they cast on the immediate surroundings. You are moving through absolute darkness, guided by sensors and maps, toward a destination you cannot see. After what feels like days, you begin to approach the South Pole region. You can tell because the fluid around you is changing, becoming colder, denser, more stagnant. The convection currents that carry heat from the interior toward the surface are weaker here, suppressed by the lack of sunlight to drive them. The South Pole has been in darkness for 42 years, and in that time, its atmosphere has settled into a state of profound stillness. The gases are layered, stratified, each finding its level according to density and temperature. There is no turbulence here, no mixing, no movement except the slowest of drifts. You surface, if surfacing is the right word for emerging from a fluid into a gas. The transition is gradual, as it always is on giant planets, but eventually you find yourself in atmosphere again, floating beneath the clouds, surrounded by the same greenish haze that cloaks the entire planet. The pressure here is lower, the temperature colder, the medium thinner. You are in the lower atmosphere, just above the fluid interior, in the region where gases still behave like gases. Above you there is only darkness. The sun is at the North Pole on the other side of the planet. Its light cannot reach you here, cannot bend around the curve of the world, cannot penetrate the vast distance that separates the two poles. You are in the region of permanent night, the hemisphere that has been turned away from the sun for 42 years. No photon has reached this place since before you were born. No sunlight has touched these clouds since a time when the world was a very different place. And it will stay that way for 42 more years. Think about what that means. A human lifetime measured in darkness. A child born in this hemisphere would grow to adulthood, would reach middle age, would watch their own children grow and never see the sun. They would know light only from the stars, from the faint glow of the distant Milky Way, from the dim reflections of the moons that circle this frozen world. They would live their entire lives in a twilight that never ends, in a night that has no dawn. The psychological weight of this is almost unbearable to contemplate. On Earth, even in the deepest night, there is always the knowledge that dawn will come. The sun always rises. The darkness always ends. It is a fundamental truth of human existence, built into our biology, our psychology, our culture. We are creatures of the day, adapted to light, dependent on its return. The thought of a night that lasts for 42 years, of a darkness that extends across decades, is almost incomprehensible. But here, on Uranus, that is exactly what happens. The tilt of the planet means that for half of its 84-year orbit, one pole faces the sun while the other faces away. During that time, the sun never sets at the summer pole and never rises at the winter pole. The boundary between day and night, the terminator, circles the planet at a fixed latitude, never moving. It is a world of permanent extremes, where half the planet bakes in continuous sunlight while the other half freezes in continuous night. You float in this darkness, suspended beneath the clouds, and you listen. There is no wind here, not really. The atmosphere is too cold, too still, too dead to generate the winds that blow on other worlds. The temperature difference between the pole and the equator, which drives weather on most planets, is absent here because the pole is uniformly cold. The only sounds are the sounds of your vessel, the hum of its systems, the whisper of its movement through the thin gas. Below you, the fluid interior continues its slow convection, driven by heat from the core. Above you, the clouds drift in patterns set by forces you cannot see, by the residual motion of an atmosphere that has almost stopped. And all around you there is only the darkness, the cold, the endless night. You begin to ascend, moving upward through the atmosphere toward the place where the clouds thin and the stars become visible. The ascent is slow, careful, as you navigate through layers of methane ice and hydrocarbon haze. The temperature drops as you rise, falling toward the minus 220 degrees Celsius that characterize the upper atmosphere. It is so cold that the very air is freezing, condensing onto your vessel in a layer of frost that you must constantly shed. Your hull creaks with the cold, materials contracting, systems struggling to maintain their function. At last you break through the clouds. Above you the sky is black, not the deep blue-black of Earth's night sky, but the absolute black of space, unsoftened by any atmosphere. And in that blackness the stars burn. They are not the stars you know from Earth. They are the same stars, of course, but seen from a different perspective, from a different place in the solar system. The constellations are distorted, unfamiliar. Some stars you recognize, Sirius still the brightest in the sky, Betelgeuse still red and pulsing, the familiar shape of Orion though shifted and skewed. But they are in the wrong places, arranged in patterns you have to learn anew. It is like looking at a familiar room from an unfamiliar angle. Everything is the same, yet everything is different. And there, low on the horizon, is a point of light that is not a star. It is the sun, just barely visible, its light skimming the edge of the planet. You are at the terminator, the boundary between day and night, and if you rose just a little higher, if you climbed a few more kilometers through the thinning atmosphere, you would see the sun itself, a tiny disk 1,000 times fainter than it appears from Earth, but still unmistakably the sun. But you do not rise. You stay here in the darkness, looking toward the light that you cannot reach. The sun is there, just over the horizon, but it might as well be 1,000,000 kilometers away. It will not rise here. It will not bring dawn. For 42 years, this horizon will remain dark, and the sun will remain just out of sight. The psychological weight of this is almost unbearable. On Earth, even in the deepest night, there is always the knowledge that dawn will come. The sun always rises. The darkness always ends. But here on Uranus's south pole, the darkness does not end. It continues for decades, for a span of time that exceeds the entire history of space exploration, that exceeds the careers of scientists, that exceeds the lifetimes of many humans. A person born at the beginning of this night would be middle-aged before the sun finally appears. A person who came here as an adult might never see the sun again. You try to imagine what it would be like to live here, to be stranded here, to watch the years pass in unending night. The stars would be your only clock, wheeling slowly overhead as the planet rotated. The moons, there are 27 of them, would rise and set in complex patterns, their orbits tilted by the same ancient impact that tipped the planet. And the sun just below the horizon would never show itself. You would grow old in darkness, your memories of light fading like photographs left in the sun. But you are not stranded. You are a visitor, free to return to the light whenever you choose. Your vessel can take you back to the equator, back to the terminator, back to the place where the sun still schemes the horizon. You are not trapped here. And so you do not feel the despair that such a place might inspire in someone who had no choice. Instead, you feel something else, a profound sense of stillness, of peace, of time suspended. In the absence of day and night, time loses its meaning. The sun does not rise or set, so there is no reason to wake or sleep. The temperature does not change, so there is no cycle of warmth and cold. The winds do not blow, so there is no variation in the soundscape. Everything is constant, unchanging, eternal. The usual markers of time's passage, the daily rhythm, the seasonal cycle, the gradual changes that mark the years, are all absent here. Time becomes an abstract concept, a number on a clock without any connection to experience. This is the gift of Uranus's dark pole, a taste of eternity, a moment outside of time, a chance to experience what it means to exist without change. You float in the darkness, watching the stars, feeling the cold seep through your vessel's insulation. The sun is just below the horizon, a presence that you feel rather than see. The planet rotates beneath you, its 17-hour day carrying you slowly around the pole, but the stars remain fixed because you are at the axis, at the point around which everything turns. From your perspective, the stars are stationary, the universe frozen in place. This is the place where time stands still. This is the pole that light forgot. Think about the physics of this place. The axial tilt of Uranus means that for 42 years, one pole points directly at the sun while the other points away. During that time, the sun never sets at the summer pole and never rises at the winter pole. The boundary between day and night, the terminator, circles the planet at a fixed latitude, never moving. It is a world of permanent extremes, where half the planet bakes in continuous sunlight while the other half freezes in continuous night. And at the winter pole, the cold is absolute. Without sunlight to warm it, the atmosphere cools to its minimum temperature, -224 degrees Celsius, the coldest natural temperature in the entire solar system. Colder than Pluto, colder than the Kuiper Belt, colder than anywhere else that has ever been measured by any spacecraft or telescope. Here, at the bottom of Uranus's long night, matter itself seems to slow down, to approach the stillness of absolute zero. Molecules move more slowly, vibrations dampen, reactions halt. The world approaches the state where even atoms stop moving. You are not at the pole itself. That would require descending through the atmosphere to a point that has no physical reality, no surface to stand on. But you are close enough to feel its influence, to experience the cold that radiates from that point, to understand what it means to be in the place where the sun never shines. The cold here is not like any cold on Earth. It does not bite or sting. It simply is a presence, a weight, a fact of existence. The stars above you are steady, unwavering. Without an atmosphere to distort them, they burn with a pure, constant light. You can see colors in them that are invisible from Earth. Reds and blues and yellows, the true colors of stars, unmixed by atmospheric scattering. Betelgeuse is a deep orange-red, almost the color of embers. Rigel is a brilliant blue-white, like an arc welder in the sky. Sirius flashes with every color of the rainbow, not because of any property of the star itself, but because its light is distorted by the thin remnant of atmosphere that still surrounds you. The Milky Way is a river of light, its structure clearly visible, the dark lanes where dust obscures the stars beyond standing out like shadows in the sky. You can see individual stars in the galactic core, millions of them packed so tightly that they seem to merge into a continuous glow. You can see the spiral arms winding outward, traced by the light of billions of suns. You are seeing the galaxy as it truly is, without the blurring of a thick atmosphere, without the interference of city lights. You are seeing the universe. And there, moving among the stars, are the moons. Oberon and Titania, the largest, visible as tiny disks even without magnification. Umbriel and Ariel, smaller but still bright. Miranda, the strangest of all, with its chaotic terrain and massive canyons, its surface a patchwork of different geological provinces that seem to have been assembled at random. They circle Uranus in their tilted orbits, sometimes passing in front of each other, sometimes disappearing behind the planet, sometimes casting their faint shadows on the clouds below. You watch them for hours or for minutes. Time has no meaning here. Their motions are swift, their orbits short, a reminder that even in this place of eternal stillness, the universe continues to move. Oberon completes an orbit in about 13 days, Titania in about 8. The inner moons move even faster, their orbits measured in hours rather than days. They are a clock, a calendar, a measure of time's passage in a place where time seems to have stopped. A particularly dark patch on the horizon catches your attention. It is the shadow of the planet itself, the cone of darkness that extends into space away from the sun. You are inside that shadow, have been inside it since you entered the South Polar region. It is the reason the sun is hidden, the reason this place is dark. And it stretches for millions of kilometers, a cone of night that reaches past the orbit of Saturn, that touches the edge of the solar system, that extends into the void where no light ever reaches. You are floating in that shadow, in the darkness cast by a planet that has turned its back on the sun. And in that darkness, you find a peace that you have never known. The 42-year night of Uranus is not just an astronomical phenomenon. It is a state of being, a way of existing outside the normal rhythms of time. Here there is no cycle of day and night, no pattern of waking and sleeping, no reason to mark the passage of hours. There is only the darkness, the cold, the slow drift of stars and moons. You could stay here forever. You will not, of course. Your mission will eventually call you back, will send you to other depths, other regions of this strange world. But for now, in this moment, you are exactly where you should be. The sun is below the horizon, 42 years from rising. The stars are fixed above you, eternal and unchanging. The moons circle in their tilted orbits, marking time in a language you do not understand. And you, floating in the darkness, are at peace. This is the gift of Uranus's dark pole. This is what it means to be in the place where light forgets to shine. There is a place in the depths of Uranus where the air turns to treasure. You have left the 42-year night of the South Pole behind, descending once again into the fluid interior of this tilted world. The darkness that surrounds you now is not the darkness of shadow, but the darkness of depth. The absolute black of a place where light has never reached and will never reach. You are falling through layers of atmosphere that grow denser with every kilometer, through pressures that would crush any unprotected thing, through temperatures that hover at the boundary between cold and colder. The vessel around you creaks and groans with the strain, its hull designed to withstand conditions that would destroy any ordinary craft. And somewhere below you in this darkness, diamonds are falling. The story begins with methane. Uranus's atmosphere contains more methane than those of Jupiter or Saturn, about 2% compared to their trace amounts. This methane is what gives the planet its pale green color, absorbing red light and reflecting blue and green. It is the same compound that burns in stoves on Earth, that forms the simplest of hydrocarbons, that is found in swamps and landfills in the depths of space. But on Uranus, methane does something remarkable. It breaks apart. The methane molecule is simple. One carbon atom surrounded by 4 hydrogen atoms, arranged in a tetrahedral shape. It is stable at Earth's pressures, comfortable in the cold of space. But deep in Uranus's interior, under pressures millions of times greater than Earth's atmospheric pressure, the hydrogen atoms are stripped away, torn from their carbon center by the sheer force of compression. The carbon atoms are left alone, free to find new partners. And what they find is each other. Carbon atoms have a unique property. They bond easily with themselves, forming chains and rings and lattices. This property is what makes carbon the basis of life on Earth, what allows it to form the complex molecules that make up DNA and proteins. Under the extreme pressures of Uranus's interior, these bonds form rapidly, creating longer and longer chains of pure carbon. As the chains grow, they begin to arrange themselves into the most stable form of carbon under these conditions: diamond. Not the cut and polished diamonds of Earth's jewelry stores, with their facets and fire and brilliance. Not the diamonds that have launched wars and funded empires and symbolized love for centuries. These are diamonds of a different kind, tiny crystals, microscopic in size, formed in the depths of a gas giant under conditions that cannot exist on Earth. But they are diamonds nonetheless. Crystalline carbon, arranged in the cubic lattice that gives diamond its hardness and its characteristic structure. And they are everywhere. The process begins in the upper atmosphere, where methane molecules float freely in the hydrogen-helium mix. As they are carried downward by convection and gravity, the pressure increases, and the methane begins to break down. At around 10,000 kilometers below the cloud tops, the pressure becomes sufficient to strip the hydrogen atoms from the carbon. The methane molecules dissociate, releasing their carbon atoms into the surrounding fluid. These free carbon atoms do not remain alone for long. They find each other, bonding in pairs, then in chains, then in three-dimensional structures. The process is rapid. At these pressures and temperatures, chemical reactions happen in microseconds. Within moments of being released, the carbon atoms have formed into tiny diamond crystals, each one a perfect geometric form, each one a tiny gem created by the forces of the planet itself. And then they fall. The diamonds are denser than the surrounding fluid, so they sink. They fall through the layers of Uranus's interior, growing larger as they fall, accumulating more carbon as they go. Some may reach the size of grains of sand, others perhaps as large as pebbles, a few maybe even as big as your fist. They fall in a constant rain, a shower of gemstones that has been falling for billions of years, since the planet first formed, since the solar system was young. You are falling with them now, descending through the same layers, surrounded by the same diamond rain. You cannot see them. There is no light here, no illumination to reveal their presence. But you can feel them, tiny impacts on your vessel's hull, a constant pitter-patter like rain on a roof. Tap, tap, tap. Diamond against metal. Treasure against technology. Each impact is a tiny event, a micro-collision that transfers a minute amount of energy to your vessel. The sound is strange, muffled by the dense fluid that surrounds you, but unmistakable. It is the sound of chemistry, of transformation, of the endless cycling of matter in this alien world. Tap, tap, tap. Diamonds falling through the darkness. Diamonds forming in the depths. Diamonds accumulating around the core of this strange, tilted world. You continue to descend, following the diamonds toward their destination. Below you, deeper in Uranus's interior, the pressure becomes even more extreme. Here, at a depth of perhaps 15,000 kilometers, the pressure is millions of times Earth's. The temperature, though still cold by stellar standards, has risen to thousands of degrees, hot enough to melt lead, hot enough to vaporize rock, but held solid by the crushing pressure that prevents any expansion. In this region, the diamonds reach their final destination. They accumulate, layer upon layer, forming a kind of diamond sludge, a slurry of gemstones suspended in the surrounding fluid. Some may sink further toward the core itself, adding to a growing layer of diamond around the planet's center. Others may be swept up by convection currents, carried back toward the surface, only to fall again in an endless cycle. The diamonds are part of Uranus's internal dynamics, part of the slow churn of material that has been going on for billions of years. You are floating in this diamond slurry now. Around you, countless tiny diamonds drift in the darkness, their presence revealed only by the constant tapping on your hull. They are invisible, but you know they are there, billions upon billions of diamonds, more than have ever existed on Earth, more than could ever be mined or cut or worn. A treasure beyond imagination, beyond valuation, beyond any human concept of wealth. And all of it falling through the darkness, unseen and unseeable, unknown and unknowable. Think about what this means. On Earth, diamonds are rare, precious, valuable beyond measure. They are formed deep in the mantle, under conditions of extreme heat and pressure, and brought to the surface by violent volcanic eruptions. They are cut and polished and set in rings and necklaces, symbols of love and commitment and wealth. A single large diamond can be worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of labor. The discovery of a new diamond deposit can transform an economy, can create fortunes, can change the course of history. On Uranus, diamonds are common. They fall like rain, accumulate like sediment, form layers deep in the planet's interior. They are as plentiful as sand on a beach, as ordinary as pebbles in a stream. If you could collect them, if you could bring them back to Earth, they would be worthless. There would be too many, too easily obtained, too common to hold any value. Their value lies not in their rarity but in their existence, in the simple fact that they are there, falling through the darkness of this alien world, created by forces that have nothing to do with human desires or human economies. You reach out with a robotic arm, extending it into the diamond rain. The taps on the hull become taps on the arm, a staccato rhythm that you feel through the metal. You cannot see what you are collecting, but your instruments tell you, diamond, diamond, diamond. Pure carbon, crystalline structure, perfect in ways that Earth's diamonds rarely are. Formed in the depths of Uranus, falling through the darkness, waiting for someone to notice. The arm retracts, bringing a sample into the vessel's analysis chamber. For the first time you see the diamonds, not with your eyes, but with instruments that build images from scattered particles, from the faint interactions of matter and energy. They are tiny, most of them no larger than grains of sand. But they are perfect, clear, faceted, sparkling even in the artificial light of the analysis chamber. Each one is a tiny geometric wonder, a miniature sculpture created by the forces of pressure and time. They are the most beautiful things you have ever seen, and they came from the darkness of Uranus. The diamond rain continues outside, tap, tap, tap against the hull. It is a constant companion now, a reminder of where you are and what surrounds you. In the darkness, in the pressure, in the cold, diamonds are falling. They have been falling for billions of years. They will fall for billions more. Long after the human species has vanished, long after Earth has been consumed by the expanding sun, long after the solar system has become a cold and lifeless place, the diamonds will still be falling on Uranus. You continue to descend, following the diamonds toward their source. Above you, the methane layer stretches back toward the surface, back toward the region where sunlight still penetrates, where the pale green color of the planet is generated. Below you, the diamond slurry thickens, becoming denser and denser as you approach the region where diamonds accumulate. The tapping on your hull increases, a constant drumming that threatens to become overwhelming. You adjust your vessel's insulation, dampening the sound, reducing it to a background whisper. At 20,000 kilometers below the cloud tops, you reach the region where the diamond rain becomes a diamond sea. The fluid around you is thick with diamonds, so thick that they are no longer falling but floating, suspended in a dense slurry that resists your descent. You are no longer moving through diamond rain. You are moving through diamond sludge, a mixture of hydrogen, helium, and countless tiny gemstones. The viscosity increases dramatically, your vessel slowing as it pushes through this thick medium. The diamonds here are larger than those above. Some are the size of peas, others the size of marbles. A few caught in your sample collection are as big as walnuts, perfect crystals, clear and brilliant, each one worth a fortune on Earth. But here they are just part of the background, just another component of the fluid that surrounds you. They drift slowly, colliding with each other and with your vessel, creating a constant, low-grade percussion that never stops. You are approaching the limit of how far you can go, the depth at which the diamond concentration becomes too high to penetrate. Your vessel was designed for exploration, for descent, for passing through layers of atmosphere and fluid. But it was not designed to push through a slurry of solid particles. not designed to navigate a sea of gemstones. The hull strains against the increased resistance, the propulsion systems working harder to maintain your position. And then below you, you see it. Not with your eyes, there is still no light, but with your instruments, with the sensors that map the density and composition of the surrounding medium. A layer of almost pure diamond, extending downward for thousands of kilometers, accumulating around the core of Uranus. A diamond ocean, deeper than any ocean on Earth, more vast than any diamond field ever imagined. The concentration here is so high that the diamonds are no longer suspended in fluid. They are the fluid, or as close to fluid as a solid can be under these pressures. They flow slowly under the influence of gravity and convection, but they flow as a single mass, a glacier of gemstones moving at geological speeds. You cannot reach it. Your vessel cannot penetrate that density, cannot survive that pressure. The diamond ocean is too deep, too dense, too extreme for any human-made craft. But you know it is there below you waiting. A treasure beyond comprehension, hidden in the darkness of this tilted world, waiting for no one, needing no one, simply existing as it has for billions of years. The diamond rain continues around you, tap, tap, tap. It is the sound of wealth falling through the darkness, of carbon transformed by pressure and time, of the endless cycling of matter in the universe. It is the sound of Uranus, of its strange chemistry, of its hidden depths. It is a sound that no human has ever heard before, that no human will ever hear again. You stop your descent, hovering in the diamond slurry, surrounded by countless tiny gems. Above you, methane continues to break apart, carbon continues to bond, diamonds continue to form and fall. Below you, the diamond ocean waits, accumulating more treasure with every passing moment, growing thicker and denser with each grain that falls. And you, floating in this sea of wealth, feel a profound sense of wonder. Not at the value of what surrounds you. Value is a human concept, meaningless in this context, irrelevant to the universe, but at the sheer improbability of it all. Methane, the simplest hydrocarbon, the stuff of swamps and stoves, transformed into diamond, the hardest natural substance, the symbol of permanence and durability. Pressure, the enemy of life, the force that crushes and destroys, creating beauty beyond measure. Darkness, the absence of light, hiding treasures that would blind if revealed, treasures that have never seen light and never will. This is Uranus. This is the emerald darkness. This is the world where diamonds fall like rain. You reach out again with your robotic arm, collecting another sample of the diamond slurry. This time the diamonds are larger, some as big as peas, a few approaching the size of marbles. They are perfect, flawless, more beautiful than any diamond on Earth. They have never seen light, never been touched, never been owned. They are pure in a way that nothing on Earth can be pure, untouched by human hands, uncut by human tools, unvalued by human economies. You bring them into the vessel, storing them for later analysis. They will never leave Uranus. Your mission does not include returning samples to Earth, and even if it did, the journey would take years, decades, lifetimes. but they will be studied, measured, appreciated. They will become data, knowledge, understanding. They will serve a purpose greater than adornment, greater than wealth, greater than any human desire. They will help you understand this world, this strange and beautiful world where diamonds fall like rain. The diamond rain continues. Tap, tap, tap. It is a lullaby now, a rhythmic sound that soothes rather than annoys, that comforts rather than disturbs. You close your eyes, not that it matters in this darkness, and let the sound wash over you. Tap, tap, tap. Diamonds falling through the darkness. Diamonds forming in the depths. Diamonds accumulating around the core of this strange, tilted world. You think about the carbon that makes up these diamonds. It was formed in the hearts of stars, in the nuclear fusion that powers the universe, in the alchemical fires that turn hydrogen into helium and helium into carbon. It was scattered across space by supernovae, by the violent deaths of massive stars, incorporated into the cloud of gas and dust that became the solar system. It gathered here in this place, drawn by gravity, forming Uranus and its atmosphere. And now, under pressure and time, it has become diamond. The same carbon makes up you. Your body, your cells, your DNA, all built from carbon forged in stars scattered across space, gathered on a small planet orbiting an ordinary star. You are made of the same stuff as these diamonds, arranged differently, animated by forces that diamonds cannot know. You are alive, conscious, aware. And these diamonds are not. But in this moment, floating in the diamond slurry, surrounded by falling gems, you feel a connection to them. You are both made of stardust. You are both products of the universe's long evolution. You are both here in this place at this time for reasons that neither of you chose. The diamonds did not choose to fall through the darkness of Uranus. You did not choose to be here billions of kilometers from home, surrounded by treasure you will never possess. And yet here you both are. The tapping continues. The darkness continues. The descent has stopped, but the journey continues, not downward now, but inward into the depths of your own consciousness, into the meaning of this experience, into the connection between yourself and this world. Diamonds are falling around you. Diamonds are falling through the darkness. And you, a creature of light and life, are here to witness it. There is a temperature at which motion itself begins to forget itself. You have left the diamond rains behind, ascending once again through the layers of Uranus's interior toward the region where the cold is absolute. The journey is long, the darkness complete, the only companion the constant pressure of the medium against your vessel. The diamond slurry thins as you rise, the tapping on your hull gradually fading from a constant drumbeat to an occasional patter to an intermittent whisper. Above you, the methane layer awaits, and beyond that, the upper atmosphere where the coldest temperatures in the solar system are found. But you are not rising all the way to the surface. You are stopping at a particular depth, a particular region where the temperature reaches its minimum. Not the very top of the atmosphere where the cold is intense but variable, but a layer a few hundred kilometers below, where the conditions are stable and the cold is absolute. The coldest place in the solar system is not at the edge of interstellar space. It is not on Pluto, not in the Kuiper belt, not in the Oort cloud where comets sleep for eons. Those places are cold. Certainly, Pluto's surface temperature hovers around -230 degrees Celsius, barely above absolute zero. But they are warmed slightly by the faint glow of distant stars, by the residual heat of their own formation, by the decay of radioactive elements in their cores. The coldest place is here on Uranus, in the upper atmosphere of this tilted world. -224 degrees Celsius. 94 degrees above absolute zero. Colder than any natural place in the entire solar system that has ever been measured. Colder than the shadows on the moon, colder than the dark side of Mercury, colder than the depths of space between the stars. You are approaching that region now. The temperature has been dropping steadily as you rise, falling from the relative warmth of the interior toward the unimaginable cold of the upper atmosphere. In the diamond depths, the temperature was thousands of degrees, hot enough to melt rock, but held solid by the crushing pressure. As you rose, it dropped rapidly, falling through the -100s, through the -200s, approaching the minimum. Your instruments show -200 degrees, -210, -220. The hull of your vessel creaks with the cold, materials contracting, systems struggling to maintain their function. Frost forms on every surface, not from water but from methane and nitrogen and carbon dioxide, freezing out of the thin atmosphere that surrounds you. Your vessel, designed for extremes, is being pushed to its limits. At -224, you stop. This is the limit. This is the coldest it gets. The temperature is so low that the very concepts of hot and cold begin to lose meaning. At this temperature, atoms move at a crawl, their thermal energy almost exhausted. Molecules vibrate sluggishly, barely maintaining their bonds. Chemical reactions slow to a halt, their activation energies too high to overcome. The world approaches stillness, approaches the state where motion itself ceases. You float in this cold, surrounded by atmosphere that is almost frozen. The gases that make up Uranus's air, hydrogen, helium, methane, are on the verge of condensing, of turning from gas to liquid to solid. At this temperature, methane would freeze instantly if the pressure were lower, turning into a slush of methane ice suspended in hydrogen. But the pressure here is still significant, about 1 Earth atmosphere, holding the methane in a state of suspended animation, a gas that is almost solid, a fluid that barely flows. The cold is not like any cold on Earth. Earth's cold bites, stings, attacks. It forces you to move, to generate heat, to fight back. It is an adversary, something to be resisted and overcome. This cold does none of that. It simply is. It surrounds you like a presence, like a consciousness, like a vast and patient thing that has been waiting here for billions of years. It does not attack, it accepts. It does not fight, it embraces. It is the cold of absolute stillness, of perfect peace, of the end of all motion. You check your vessel's systems. They are struggling. The cold penetrates even the best insulation, seeping through layers of advanced materials, reaching toward the warm interior where you live. The heaters are working overtime, burning energy to maintain a livable temperature. But they are losing the battle slowly, inevitably. The cold is patient, can wait forever. You will not stay here long. A few hours at most, then you must descend again, return to the warmer depths where your vessel can recover, where the heaters can catch up, where the systems can rest. But for those few hours, you will experience what it means to be in the coldest place in the solar system. The atmosphere around you is almost still. Without heat to drive convection, without sunlight to create weather, the gases barely move. They hang in place, molecules drifting at speeds measured in centimeters per second. The winds that blow on other planets, that shape dunes and drive storms, do not exist here. There is only stillness, only silence, only cold. You listen. Through your vessel's hull, through the insulation, through the layers of protection, you hear nothing. No wind, no creaking, no movement. The sound of your own breathing is the loudest thing in the universe, amplified by the silence that surrounds it. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. The rhythm of life, measured against the stillness of death. But this place is not dead. It is simply cold. Cold enough to slow chemistry to a crawl, cold enough to freeze most gases, cold enough to approach the absolute zero where even atoms stop moving. But not dead. Nothing in the universe is truly dead, not as long as it exists. Even here at minus 224 degrees, atoms still vibrate, molecules still rotate, energy still flows in forms too subtle for human senses. The universe never truly stops, it only slows down. You look out through your viewport, not that there is anything to see. The darkness outside is complete, unbroken by any light. The sun is on the other side of the planet, hidden by thousands of kilometers of atmosphere. The stars are invisible, blocked by the clouds above. There is only blackness, absolute and eternal. And yet, in that blackness you feel something. A presence, a weight. The cold itself, pressing against your vessel, seeping through the insulation, reaching toward your warmth. It is not hostile. Nothing here is hostile because hostility requires intent, requires consciousness, requires a self to oppose another self. It is simply there, as mountains are there, as oceans are there, as the void of space is there. It exists and you are in it. Think about the physics of this place. Uranus is cold because it has no internal heat source. Jupiter and Saturn both radiate more energy than they receive from the Sun, their interiors still hot from their formation billions of years ago. They are still cooling, still contracting, still releasing the gravitational energy of their own birth. Neptune, despite being farther from the Sun, also has internal heat, driving winds and storms that are the fastest in the solar system. But Uranus is different. Something happened during its formation, perhaps that same ancient impact that tipped it on its side, perhaps some other catastrophic event that caused it to lose its internal heat. It radiates almost no energy of its own. It is simply cold as the space around it, as cold as a world can be without dropping to absolute zero. It is a planet in thermal equilibrium with the universe, a world that has stopped cooling because it has nowhere left to cool to. The result is this: the coldest atmosphere in the solar system, the quietest weather, the stillest skies, a world that has almost stopped, that barely moves, that exists in a state of near-perfect equilibrium with the void that surrounds it. A world that has given up, in a sense, not in despair but in acceptance. It has accepted that it will never be warm, that it will never have storms like Jupiter or winds like Neptune, that it will simply exist cold and still for the rest of time. You float in this stillness and you feel your own motion slowing. Not physically, your vessel maintains its position, its systems continue to function, your heart continues to beat. But mentally, emotionally, you feel the cold seeping into your consciousness, slowing your thoughts, quieting your mind. The constant chatter of your internal monologue fades. The worries that plague you on Earth, the anxieties and fears and hopes, all of them seem distant, irrelevant. Here, in this cold, there is only the present moment. Only the awareness of existence. Only the simple fact of being. This is what the cold offers: a chance to stop, a chance to be still, a chance to exist without the constant pressure to move, to act, to become. In the coldest place in the solar system, there is no becoming. There is only being. You check the time. You have been here for an hour, though it feels like both an instant and an eternity. Your vessel's systems are holding, but they are strained. The heaters are consuming power at an alarming rate, and the batteries are draining faster than expected. You cannot stay much longer. The cold is winning slowly but surely, and you must retreat before it wins completely. But you are not ready to leave. Not yet. There is something about this place that holds you, that calls to something deep within you. Perhaps it is the stillness. Perhaps it is the silence. Perhaps it is simply the knowledge that you are experiencing something that no human has ever experienced before, that no human will ever experience again. You are in the coldest place in the solar system, and that fact alone is enough to justify staying a little longer. You close your eyes. In the darkness, it makes no difference, but the gesture feels right. It is a signal to yourself, to your body, to your mind, that you are present, that you are here, that you are experiencing this moment fully. You let your awareness expand, filling the space around you, reaching out into the cold. You feel the atmosphere pressing against your vessel, the molecules drifting slowly past, the vast emptiness that stretches in every direction. You feel the planet below you, its strange tilted bulk, its diamond rains and fluid interior, its long nights and longer days. And you feel the cold, the absolute cold, the coldest cold in the solar system. It is beautiful. Not in the way a sunset is beautiful, or a mountain range, or a work of art. It is beautiful in the way that truth is beautiful, in the way that the fundamental laws of physics are beautiful. It is the beauty of simplicity, of clarity, of things reduced to their essence. It is the beauty of a world that has nothing left to hide. The cold has stripped away everything extraneous. There is no weather here, no life, no motion, no change. There is only the cold and the darkness and you. And in that reduction, that simplification, you find something you did not expect. Peace. On Earth, peace is always temporary, always threatened by the next crisis, the next demand, the next distraction. It is something you have to work for, to fight for, to protect. Here, peace is permanent. Here, peace is the natural state. Here, peace has lasted for billions of years and will last for billions more. It is not something that has to be achieved or maintained. It simply is. You open your eyes. The darkness is still there, the cold still pressing. But you are different now. The cold has changed you, quieted you, stilled you. You are closer to the state of this place than you were when you arrived. Some part of you has become cold, has become still, has become peaceful. Your instruments beep a warning. The batteries are critically low. You must leave now, must descend to warmer depths, must recharge and recover. The cold has almost won, and you must retreat before it wins completely. But you will return. You know that now. You will return to this place, to this cold, to this stillness. Not because your mission requires it, but because you need it. Because something in you recognizes something in this cold, and that recognition is too important to ignore. You begin your descent, moving away from the coldest place in the solar system. The temperature rises slowly, degree by degree. -220, -215, -210. The atmosphere begins to move again, convection currents stirring, winds beginning to blow. The silence fades, replaced by the familiar sounds of a living world. The whisper of gas flowing past your hull, the creak of your vessel adjusting to the changing pressure, the hum of systems working harder to maintain your descent. But you carry the cold with you. Not physically, your vessel warms quickly as you descend, the frost melting from its surfaces, the systems returning to normal operating temperatures. But mentally, emotionally, the cold remains. A stillness at your core. A quiet that nothing can disturb. A peace that you have never known before. You have visited the coldest place in the solar system, and it has given you a gift. The knowledge that stillness is possible. That peace is possible. That even in the chaos of life, in the demands and distractions of existence, there is a place within you that can remain cold, remain still, remain quiet. A place that nothing can touch. You will need that gift in the depths ahead. You will need that stillness when you face the diamond rains, the fluid interior, the long descent toward the core. You will need that peace when you finally reach the end of your journey, when there is nowhere left to go, when you must simply be. But for now, you simply carry it with you, a warmth that is not warmth, a presence that is not presence, a gift from the coldest place in the universe. The descent continues. The temperature rises. The darkness remains. And you, floating in the emerald depths of Uranus, carry the cold within you. There is a place in the universe where time itself seems to stop. You have traveled through all the layers of this tilted world. You have witnessed the 42-year night of the South Pole, where the sun forgets to rise for half a human lifetime. You have floated through the diamond rains, where methane transforms into treasure under pressures beyond imagination. You have experienced the absolute cold of the upper atmosphere, the coldest natural place in the entire solar system. And now, at the end of your journey, you have returned to the darkness. Not the darkness of shadow, not the darkness of depth, but the darkness of completion. The darkness of a journey finished, of a destination reached, of a world understood. You are floating in the mid-latitudes of Uranus, far from the poles, far from the equator, in a region where the sun is always low on the horizon but never quite sets. The light here is dim, perpetual, a twilight that never deepens into night and never brightens into day. It is the light of a world that has forgotten the rhythm of rotation, that spins on its side in a way that makes nonsense of the very concept of day. Below you, the fluid interior stretches toward the core, toward the diamond oceans and the unimaginable pressures that await there. Above you, the atmosphere fades into space, into the blackness where the stars burn with cold fire. Around you, the emerald darkness holds everything in its gentle embrace, the pale green glow of methane scattering what little light reaches this depth. You have been here before in a sense. You have passed through this region on your way to other depths, on your way to the pole and the diamonds and the cold. But now you are here to stay at least for a while. Your mission is nearly complete. Your vessel is tired, its systems worn by the pressures and temperatures it has endured, by the long months of travel and exploration. And you are tired too, tired in a way that goes beyond physical exhaustion, tired in the deep places where consciousness meets existence, where the soul meets the body. It is time to rest. The journey through Uranus has taught you many things. You have learned about the ancient impact that tipped this world on its side, sending it rolling through the solar system like a cosmic marble, a billion-year reminder of the violence that shaped our neighborhood. You have learned about the 42-year nights and days, the eternal twilight of the equator, the absolute cold of the upper atmosphere. You have learned about diamond rains and methane chemistry, about the strange physics of a world that radiates no internal heat, that has been cold for so long that cold is its only identity. But the most important thing you have learned is not scientific. It is something deeper, something that cannot be measured or quantified, something that no instrument could detect and no theory could predict. It is the knowledge that peace exists, that stillness is possible, that even in the most alien environments, the human mind can find a kind of home. You have found that home here, in the emerald darkness of Uranus. Not in any physical sense. This world could never be home to a creature of Earth, with its need for warmth and light and solid ground. But in the spiritual sense, in the sense of belonging, of fitting, of being exactly where you should be. Here, in this place of eternal twilight and absolute cold, you have found a peace that has eluded you all your life. The vessel's systems hum quietly around you, maintaining life support, monitoring conditions, recording data. But you are no longer paying attention to them. Your mind has turned inward, toward the stillness that the cold taught you, toward the peace that the darkness offers, toward the quiet that has settled over your consciousness like a blanket of snow. Outside, the emerald darkness continues. The methane haze that gives Uranus its color surrounds you, a faint glow in the perpetual twilight. It is not bright enough to see by, not even close, but it is present, a subtle luminescence that your instruments detect and your mind interprets. The sun is just visible on the horizon, a tiny disk 1,000 times fainter than it appears from Earth, a dim point of light that seems more like a distant star than the source of all life. It will not rise or set here, not in any meaningful sense. It will simply hover at the edge of visibility, a reminder of the light that exists beyond this world, a memory of warmth that will never reach you. The moons are visible too, some of them. Oberon and Titania, the largest, appear as tiny disks when your instruments magnify them. Umbriel and Ariel are smaller, fainter, harder to distinguish from the stars. Miranda, the strangest of all, with its chaotic terrain and massive canyons, its surface a patchwork of different geological provinces that seem to have been assembled at random. They circle Uranus in their tilted orbits, passing slowly across the sky, their faint light adding to the perpetual twilight. You watch them for a while, these distant worlds, each one a mystery in its own right, each one waiting for its own explorer, its own moment of discovery. But you do not have the energy to think about them now. You let them pass, let them circle, let them continue their eternal dance without you. The diamond rains are far above you now in the depths you left behind. You can almost hear them if you listen, the tap, tap, tap of countless tiny gems against the hull of your vessel. But that might be imagination. The diamonds are too far away now, their sounds lost in the vastness of this world, in the kilometers of atmosphere and fluid that separate you from their fall. What you hear instead is silence. Not the absence of sound. Your vessel still hums, your body still breathes, your heart still beats. But the silence of meaning, of purpose, of striving. All the noise of your life, all the ambitions and anxieties and desires, have faded into the background. What remains is the simple fact of existence, of being here now in this place. This is the gift of Uranus. Not the scientific discoveries, not the stunning vistas, not the sense of adventure. The gift is this, the opportunity to stop, to be still, to exist without the constant pressure to become something else. On Earth, there is always something to do, somewhere to go, someone to be. The days are filled with tasks and obligations, the nights with plans and worries. Even in moments of rest, the mind churns, processing, planning, anticipating. But here, in the emerald darkness, there is nothing to do and nowhere to go. There is only being. You close your eyes. In the emerald darkness, it makes no difference, but the gesture feels right. It is a signal to yourself, to your body, to your mind that the journey is over, that you have arrived, that there is nowhere else to go. Behind your eyelids, the afterimage of the instruments lingers, glowing numbers, shifting graphs, the constant readouts that have been your companions for so long. But even they are fading now, receding into the background as you turn your attention inward. The 42-year night of the poles stretches on, indifferent to your presence. The diamond rains continue to fall, uncaring of your observations. The absolute cold persists, unchanged by your passage. Uranus does not know you are here. It does not care. It simply exists as it has for billions of years, as it will for billions more. It is the ultimate expression of indifference, of the universe's profound unconcern with the affairs of conscious beings. And in that indifference you find freedom. The freedom to simply be, without the need to matter, without the need to make a difference, without the need to justify your existence. You are here. That is enough. You exist. That is sufficient. You are conscious. That is everything. The vessel's systems continue their quiet hum. Your breathing continues its steady rhythm. Your heart continues its patient beating. But you are no longer aware of them, not really. You have drifted into a state beyond awareness, beyond consciousness, beyond the self that has guided you through all the dangers and wonders of this journey. You are approaching something that is not quite sleep but is not quite wakefulness either. A state of pure being, of existence without effort, of consciousness without thought. You are sleeping now. Not the sleep of Earth, with its dreams and disturbances, its cycles and rhythms, its rapid eye movements and sleep spindles and all the complexity that scientists have catalogued. This is a different kind of sleep, a sleep without awakening, a rest without end, a peace that passes all understanding. It is the sleep of the universe itself, the deep rest that underlies all existence, the stillness from which all motion arises and to which all motion returns. In this sleep you are everywhere and nowhere. You are the diamond rains and the absolute cold. You are the 42-year night and the eternal twilight. You are the emerald darkness and the tilted axis. You are Uranus and Uranus is you. The boundaries that seem so important, between self and world, between inside and outside, between observer and observed, all of them dissolve in this state, leaving only the pure fact of existence. The distinction between self and world dissolves. The boundaries that seem so important, between inside and outside, between observer and observed, between life and non-life, all of them fade into irrelevance. There is only existence, only being, only the simple fact of presence in the universe. You are a part of Uranus now, as much as any atom of hydrogen, as much as any diamond falling through the darkness. You belong here. And in that presence there is peace. The moons continue their orbits, indifferent to your sleep. Oberon and Titania circle in their slow dance, completing their orbits in days and weeks, marking time in a language that only they understand. The sun continues its slow drift along the horizon, neither rising nor setting, a fixed point of light that will remain fixed for decades. The diamond rains continue to fall, tapping against depths you will never reach again, creating music that no one hears. And you continue to rest, held in the emerald darkness like a child in a mother's arms, cradled by the gentle pressure of the atmosphere, supported by the fluid that surrounds you. This is the end of the journey. Not because you have nowhere else to go. You could descend further, could explore deeper, could seek out the core itself, could plunge into the diamond oceans and see what lies at the center of this world. But because you have chosen to stop, you have chosen to rest. You have chosen to accept that some journeys are not about reaching a destination but about finding a place to stop. Some journeys are about the stopping itself, and you have found that place. Here, in the mid-latitudes of Uranus, in the perpetual twilight, in the emerald darkness. Here, where the sun is always on the horizon and the moons circle in their tilted orbits. Here, where the cold is absolute and the diamonds fall unseen. Here, where time itself seems to slow, to stop, to forget its own passage. Here, where you can finally let go. You sleep. The vessel holds you, protects you, maintains the fragile bubble of warmth and air that keeps you alive in this alien realm. But you are no longer aware of it. You are no longer aware of anything. You have let go completely and finally of the need to be aware, of the need to observe, of the need to understand. You have surrendered to the darkness, and the darkness has accepted you. The 42-year night continues indifferent to your rest. The diamond rains continue, uncaring of your presence. The absolute cold persists, unchanged by your warmth. Uranus continues its slow roll around the sun, its tilted axis pointing first one way, then the other, in a cycle that will continue until the sun itself dies, until the solar system ends, until the universe grows cold and dark. And you, floating in the emerald darkness, are part of that cycle now. Not as an observer, not as a participant, but as a presence. A small piece of consciousness that has finally found rest. A tiny fragment of awareness that has merged with the world it came to explore. A soul that has found peace in the most unlikely of places. The sleep without awakening. The cosmic tomb. The place where journeys end. But it is not a tomb in the dark sense, not a place of death and decay, of rot and dissolution. It is a tomb in the ancient sense, a place of rest, of peace, of the final stillness that follows a long and difficult journey. It is a place where the traveler can finally lay down their burden and sleep, knowing that the journey is complete, that there is no further to go, that they have arrived at last. You have earned this rest. You have traveled billions of kilometers, crossed the vast emptiness of the outer solar system, endured pressures that would crush any unprotected thing, witnessed wonders that no human has ever seen. You have seen the blue sunsets of Mars and the black sands of its dunes, the diamond rains of Uranus and its absolute cold. You have experienced more than any human before you, more than any human will ever experience again. You have earned the right to stop, to rest, to sleep. And so you sleep, deeply, peacefully, without dreams. The emerald darkness holds you. The eternal twilight watches over you. The diamond rains sing you a lullaby you cannot hear. The cold embraces you like an old friend. This is the end. This is the beginning. This is the place where all journeys finally arrive. The sun hovers on the horizon, a tiny disk of light that will never rise or set. The moons circle in their patient orbits, marking time in a language only they understand. The diamond rains continue to fall, tapping against the depths, creating music that no one hears. The cold persists, absolute and eternal. And you, floating in the darkness, are finally at peace.